What up, y'all? This your boy Gerald. It is 28th of October, 2016. How is everybody doing? It is well, Monday. Yeah. It's your Friday. You've made it through your week. Sidestepping the negative by way of speaking your truth, but of course, grounding your feet. But none of that could be possible without placing God first. Give me 1 second, y'all. Before I go into this video, I'm going to burn some white sage for y'all because I have a feeling that somebody is in the crossroads and they need some intervention. So I'm going to send some love to somebody. That's right. You think you walk around this planet and nobody gives a damn about you? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Whoa. That ain't nothing but a distraction. That ain't nothing. Ain't nothing. Convince you. That's why you walk around like you think you're crazy, like you're seeing things. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna burn 2 candles for you. This one is white sage, which is pretty cool, dude. Because I got this online. I got this through Amazon, and it's got this looks like glitter embedded in the wax, but it kind of gives like a holographic effect. I don't know if you can. I should have showed it to you before I lit it, but it's pretty cool. But I found it on Amazon for a couple bucks. No, we ain't gonna start no fire. Let's take this paper off. And burning off some of that confusion you might be going through right now. I'm gonna burn off some of that fear. I'm gonna burn off some of the denial. I'm gonna burn off some of that non-truth that's been clouding your perceptions. Because, see, there's a lot of people still to this day that will not take custody of their life. That's right. It won't. They have a facade. They walk around like they think they got it all together, but they're really fragile like rice paper. Why? Because at the end of the day, truth is going to prevail with or without your consent. So with that, you got to make a choice when you're ready to come out of that pain. You know how New Edition had that classic song, Can You Stand the Rain? No. Your job is not to endorse or stay in the rain. No, 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 no. Burn me some lavender. Yes, sir. We're going to keep them vibes pure. We're going to send them out to whoever needs them because, see, your life is priceless. I mean, let's break this down. If your life did not matter, if it had no worth, why are they in your environment? Why are they coming for you? Why are they checking? They can set their watch on what you doing. Why? Because they see your uniqueness. Otherwise, they wouldn't give their time staying focused. But here's the truth in that. They see something about you that can bring an asset to their end goal. Who am I talking to? And they want to keep you delusional too. Yeah, they do. Because at the end of the day, we live in a society where people want to reap the biggest harvest with the least amount of investment. That ain't nothing but an opportunity. And what I'd say, my philosophy about opportunists is an opportunist does not need their help, does not need your help to expose themselves. But what is required that you have the courage to acknowledge what is being seen. Because guess what? You don't go off of this. You go off the behavior. And like Maya Angelou said in her poem, when a person shows you who they are, believe them. You get validation through your emotions. Your emotions is a byproduct of your spirit. So maybe what's required is you just be still. Why are you running around so much? You're not in a track meet. Maybe what's required is you get back to loving you and prioritizing your life. If it does not bring the best you out, why are you investing any time in it? Why are you allowing it to consume your time? How about why do they have access to you? What is the commonality of the bond? See, people have allowed themselves to become complacent. And in turn, we've gotten conditioned to allow others to validate our existence. Don't you realize they can't share your breath? They have their own set of lungs. They have their own set of eyes and limbs and beautiful brain and heart. They got their own. So why are they so much invested in yours? Why? Because you got some that don't have the integrity to do it themselves. You don't believe me? You see it all the time. Let somebody's cell phone run out of power and it becomes a tool, which was all it was and to be developed for anyway. But we live in a society that darn cell phone has more control than you. Who am I talking to? So I remember when social media was a concept. I remember when the it thing was to instant messenger someone and get a dialogue going. I remember those days. But we're a million miles away because even the internet, there are two sides. There's the side that you know and the side that you don't. Oh, come on. You didn't know that? Why do you think pedophiles and people that don't have your interests, how do you think they communicate? They use the same tool as you. They just go about it hidden in plain sight. We hear it all the time. So what's really going on with you? Why do you feel that you are stuck between something that you know you need compared to something that has possession that was a want? What is keeping you from taking accountability of your choice? You realize there are people still to this day that will not take ownership for what happens to their life. They've gotten so conditioned to having that victim card. A victim's not a victim if they decide to get up off their feet. If they start to believe in themselves and take ownership of where they want to go. The greatest tool you're going to ever have is right here. But it's navigated right here. And it's for you. You know that little boy, little girl that lives inside you? You don't think because another year is tacked on to your life, that's who you are. More knowledge becomes more responsibility. And you see the byproduct of those failures when people fall. From the lowest low to the highest high. Those who will be made last will be made first, and those who are made first shall be made last. Why? To validate your humility, to ensure you got the lesson. That is your wisdom. The experience forges insight. If you see dark clouds in the distance, the time before it reaches you should be your insight to act. When you're going to come from outside that rain, the raindrops are nothing but your embarrassment, your disfranchisement, your non-clarity. How about your abuse? You know, there are people that are so fixated on what another person thinks than what matters to them. And here's the funny thing. The people that they have loyalty to don't have loyalty in return. Let me run that back. There are people that show loyalty to people that won't show loyalty back. Why? Because one person's spirit is stronger than the other, and they are using control. It doesn't matter the tools of the control, but they're using it for their benefit. But let me tell you something. You reap what you sow. That's why reinventing yourself never works. You do understand your life is like a virtual scrapbook. For those millennials who don't know what the hell I just said, what a scrapbook is, see, before you were born, that was a tool. It was things of significance visually there. Snapshots of your life, accomplishments, and moments that were sacred. However, as we advance in the technological age, we put these memories, instead of pen to pad, we store it in a server, only to be ransomed and given to the lowest bidder. Why you think we got porn sites, y'all? Why? They serve two reasons: to stimulate the interest of those who want to pry, and to make a profit of those unsuspected. Why do you think that hackers do what they do? Why? Because they're not focusing on themselves. They're focusing on you and how they can manipulate you, your life, at the means of a click. But it doesn't matter, because public opinion today has so much value. Nobody does the research. They assume because it's presented, it has to be true. There's a running, that's a running statement on Facebook. If it's on Facebook, it's got to be real. No. What validates it is the perception of the person viewing it. And they use that. This election has been the greatest tool on the public scale, because they already know that a great percentage of the populace will not take a second to research, to question, and blindly will consume anything that is there for public consumption, even if it's poisonous, even if it's detrimental, even if it's time released with the effect to influence the unsuspecting. Don't believe me? Why don't you just be yourself? See, if you feel a certain way just to be you, you're suffering from low self-esteem. And you are witnessing a byproduct of emotional abuse too. Oh yeah. But see, this is one thing I will say. For those who are in their 30s, those who are striving to live the life of their dreams, your biggest conflict is this. You're running into a lot of things that were spoken as truth, and you're finding falsehood in it. And it's causing you to feel a certain way because the veil has now been revealed and your intellect is telling you something totally different. Now listen, you know how they say don't stoop to someone's level? Well, how can you stoop to someone's level if you're standing up? You should have a clear perspective of what's in front of you and seeing how firm your feet are. But why is it now? Now that the things that should be sacred are mocked and left to be exposed, and the things that should not be tolerated are exalted and idolized. Why? I'll tell you why. Because they know 9 times out of 10, if you're looking at me, you're not looking at yourself. They know that. And they've figured out a way to pull that precious resource. How about your money? How about your time? How about your loyalty? And they want to systematically, and I'm saying this as a collective, all progressive, y'all, but anything that's progressive also has a trickle-down effect too. This is what guarantees the probability that things repeat. That's why we have history, y'all. That's why we chronicleize things. Why? To ensure that certain habits and behaviors are prevented. But they can't be prevented if you don't get the lesson. If you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable to take in what's being shown to you. Why is it in 2016 we still have people running around, busting out windows, putting themselves in harm's way, and of course, not seeing the value of their individual lives? Why? Because we put so much time in what is projected on the grand scheme. You realize there's somebody that sits down. Someone had to sit down and take the time to come up with that ideology, match it with some resources to present it. They didn't do it alone, but they already had an end goal for that investment in time, and that was to sway your judgment. So what does it got to do with your heart? It has a lot. A couple of years ago, you had this phenomenon of people were gravitating to that. I'm gonna just use this as an example. They're gravitating to that show, Walking Dead, right? And the apocalypse and these zombies and people are going around trying to survive, and they were killing and a lot of blood and gore, everything, right? And they made it a big hit. It got prime time viewing, but you never saw a disclaimer. You never said not suitable for certain audience. Mm-mm. Why? Because that's not their responsibility to govern what goes on in your house. So, does it surprise you that our young ones are taking in what they see and reenacting these same things? Hmm? Do you not see the correlation? They're taking in what they hear that is glamorized and trying to emulate that only to get their life snuffed out. Do you not see that? But once again, when that spotlight comes back to who's going to clean up the mess and who is going to take accountability, I'm not snitching. I'm not saying nothing. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So you are systematically and socially holding yourself hostage to the things that only is set out to snuff out your existence, to discredit your life. How about your lineage? Some of you are so fixated in your alter ego, but you miserable. You miserable. Inside your mind, you having conversations like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. But anytime you remotely try to tap into you, they quick to shut you down. Who you think you are? Why you acting like this? You acting like them. Don't you realize that same dialogue is from people that don't have the courage to claim their lives? And misery loves company. And they, listen, demons are real. And one thing about a demon will leave every door open, just like a mousetrap. I'm gonna give you all the baits you need to lure you from yourself. That's right. I'm gonna make sure that it is perfect, that you can't resist. Because when you finally decide to go after the bait, you don't see the death is right behind you. You don't see it because it's a distraction. You realize how many people are sitting incarcerated right now that should not be? All because of a distraction. The biggest distraction is you forgot to love yourself. You forgot to take ownership of your value of your life. How about them dreams? How about those natural spiritual gifts? You may know them as your talents. You know, there's somebody waking up right now, scratching their head, and they're saying, I never thought in a million years that I would be a junkie. I don't fit. I don't fit the social makeup of a junkie, but they are. There's somebody right now tied to a cell phone, and their sole purpose is to be exploited. They out there prostituting. There's somebody waking up right now, just grateful that they saw another day, only to turn around to be that person that's going to pull a gun to and rob you. See, we live in a world, y'all, where the schizophrenic, the sociopathic, the narcissistic, the bipolar. Nobody addressing that. We've evolved from a place of, well, just leave Uncle Larry alone. That's Uncle Larry. He always been that way, especially in our community, especially in the minority community. When in actuality, they needed help. But we so worried about what people will think of us if we lend a helping hand. And before somebody gets mad, I know there's somebody that I can flip that to, and you say, "Well, Joe, I've lended hands. I've done all I could, and all I got out of it was my hand slapped. I've got spit on. I've got betrayed. I've went through so much pain trying to help, and I don't have nothing to give." You know why you went through that? Two reasons. Number one, that was in your spirit. Number two, you probably was the other person at one time in your life, and the roles were reversed. Why do you think that whole cliche, what goes around comes around? Because everything comes full circle. Why? To see if you're ready for your blessing. Your blessing's not coming if you haven't prepared for it. You can't prepare for nothing until you decide to be authentic with yourself. How about allow yourself to heal? Yeah, Mr. Tough Guy. Everybody outside your door is intimidated. They're afraid of you. When you come down the road, they see that they ain't messing with you, but do they really know what you needed the whole time? Was you needed to be loved. You needed someone to tell you it's going to be all right. You needed some guidance. You needed someone in your life to say, you know what, this ain't what you want, player. You need to do it this way. Or maybe challenge you. But see, we have this survival mindset with no accountability. And we're wondering why our babies are getting gunned down every day. Media would not have a platform if we looked at it. That's the reason why television shows come and go. Why? Because they're trying to find the right niche for your attention. But it means nothing. It matters not if you don't place your life first. It means nothing. Why you think they got on demand? On demand is for people that they were targeting when it first came out, hoping that, well, you know what? I didn't get you this time, but I'll set it up so that maybe sooner or later you'll get to see it. Why? TV shows are there to inspire and influence. Otherwise, why would they exist? What are actors and actresses' jobs? To influence you, to tell the story. So if he's the villain and his behavior reflects that of that, they know whoever's in that audience is going to be like, that's me. And you're going to start emulating what you see. We kind of know that as instinct. When in actuality, it's leading the blind to slaughter. You're wondering why I'm saying this, right? I'm saying this because, like it or not, if you don't like how 2016 is played out, be prepared for what 2017 is going to do. Because the things that were previous springboards the next. Let me explain. If I'm making progression on something, and it's moving. I'm going to take that concept and build off of it or give more of the same. Why? Because I'm going after your senses. Does it surprise you that the general populace, they say the general populace, our society, has a 6th grade reading level? Did you know that? But what about our babies? I don't know a town near you, and a city near you, and a state near you. Have you taken a look at the educational structure these days? Seems like more and more the books are getting lesser and less, and Johnny's coming home with no materials. That's done on purpose. That's done on purpose. I know somebody saying, well, Joe, they're evolving because, some schools now are using tablets and stuff, and it from an ergonomical standpoint for your back, you know, yeah, I got that. But what about that hands-on application? Hmm? Let's look at it from a labor standpoint. If I'm doing that, if I'm streamlining that, and that's my approach, what happens to the tutors? Hmm? What happens to the teachers that really give a damn about our kids? And because let's give credit where credit is. Your teachers spend more time with your child than you do. Hmm? Did you know that? They do. You see them in the morning, you see them after work, but you send them off to them. But yet they're still underpaid. Why? Because they're preparing a society to not be informed. This is not a rant about education. But no amount of education that you can claim for yourself matters if you don't educate yourself about yourself. There are people walking around to this day that will not shed a tear. They're walking around with all this confusion inside them, compartmentalizing of it. And then you wonder why you hear stories about woman walks into job and shoots up the place, or 16-year-old goes to the school, and none of that should exist in this day and time. None of it. But everything's progressive. I remember when there was a time where your neighbor had just as much respect as your parents, and depending on how close-knit your neighborhood was, if your neighbor saw you doing something, they tighten your ass up. They get in your butt, and then they tell your parents why. Why? To protect you from you. But society has migrated from, well, I'm not going to let you do that because who do you think you are? Well, guess what? You can't be in two places at one time. And it seems like the more advanced we become as a society, the more dumbed down we are. The more introverted we become. Because let's call it what it is. There's a lot of people that have no social skills. They have no communicational skills for themselves. And you wonder why we have so much confusion today. You can't have communication without dialogue. And you can't have dialogue unless you have truth. So that's why I throw this out every chance I get. Do you know who you are? Because if you know who you are, you know what you need. And the question should be, why aren't you building on that? Why aren't you? Why? You are the architect of your reality. Your legacy was written the moment you took your first breath. You got to put the bricks out there. God just gives you the opportunity to do it. But then I know some people will say, well, Gerald, I heard that and I was doing that and my foundation was knocked down and I'm pissed off at God. Why? Why? You should be pissed off at you, because you got to put accountability was where it should have been. And see, people like to tell half truths. You know, they want to wave that victim card. This happened to me and this happened to me. If you're going to tell it all. This occurred because of that. Who am I talking to? And because of that, that set the scene for that. The response was what you did or lacked to do. If you're going to tell it, tell it. But see, we want to have this perception that life is a made-for-TV movie. No, your life is not a made-for-TV movie. Your life is an experience, one of a kind. And you know what the payout is when you don't look at it that way? Your life is squandered and you end up growing old. And you look back at your life and see all the time that you could have. But it's too late. Too late. Too late. And let's talk about these friends. Let me tell you something. Because you know Gerald love you. I'm one of the good ones. My whole agenda is for you to see how perfect you are. You're not made by Mattel. You don't have a serial number on your ass. You don't come from an assembly line, but they want you to believe that. They want you to think, well, you know, I'm just going to take the shortcut. Don't you realize that's part of the journey of your life? Do you not see that? You spend more time having to redo things than putting the work in initially to say it's complete. It is good. It's blessed. So why are you worried about, why are you chasing after him? Why are you chasing after him? I'll tell you why you're chasing after him. Because it has, for some reason, convinced you that that is going to boost your self-esteem. That is, we in our society like to use the term Kryptonite. Like Superman, his weakness was that stone. But that stone was where he came from. On Earth, they want to typecast and say the man's kryptonite is the woman, her beauty. And all you need is the right one, and you'll stop him dead in his tracks. You think the devil don't know that? Ask those people that are living with AIDS today. There are some people that shouldn't have chronic diseases because of one choice. Yeah, sure, there are plenty of people that are out there playing the role of the Jezebel, playing the role of the John. And society has now adapted this pimp and hoe mentality. Oh, I don't need her. I got a starting five. But yet, from the male perspective, we see it as, we're seeing the effects because now she has a starting 10. She believes that, well, I have an image in my mind of the perfect man. And she has a team. And they all have different characteristics. But the thing about it is you burn the candle slow, y'all. You burn the candle slow. You're burning it because you can't be everywhere. You can't remember everything you did. And you trip, slip, and bust your lip only to wake up with a diagnosis. Sure, it was fun when you were doing it. You thought you never get caught. And that's the reason why I echo to everyone, stop holding on to secrets. Don't you realize that secret is what's holding you back? Because guess what? A secret is nothing but truth, time released. You do understand all things hidden are revealed. Now here's the kicker though. Because God loves you so much. And see, that's the thing though. Because God is not that person that he puffs his chest out like, yeah, you better give me my props. Mm-hmm. That's right. Throw it down. That's right. That's right. He made you perfect because you exist. There'll never be another person that looks like you, talks like you, walks like you, thinks like you, sees like you. But yet you are giving credit to a false image. Why? Because of what she looks like, and she looks like what she looks like, and she looks like what she saw someone doing, and the trickle down effect, only to attract Johns. You know what a John is? That's a man acting like a boy that has no direction, but has access to financial means. You can't build nothing off of someone that don't know where they're going. You can't build somebody. You can't do nothing with someone who won't even see value in themselves. That's why I always convey this to you, my queens, because I love you. Real man don't wear his wealth. He invested. So when I see these cats out here blaying it up, I got to shake my head. Because that's not wealth. Wealth is the person that made it and sold it. Think about it. You paid $5 million for a ring, but yet to create it, to get the resource, probably maybe paid a third of that. He done flipped it 3 times. Think he cares about what happens once it goes out of the door? No. No. So let's look at your respect level. Society has convinced a lot of women the only way to make it in this world is you got to prostitute yourself out socially. Don't you realize the woman that is treasured most is the woman that knows herself? That's why, let's just look at this as a social example. That's why there's one Beyonce, there's one Alicia Keys, and one Rihanna. You don't see them trying to emulate them. I don't care if Beyonce worked at the drugstore. Until you decide to be comfortable in your own skin, you won't be able to be comfortable with the blessing. I'm saying this because y'all don't realize there's a whole lot of prostitution going on. Oh yeah, it is. And I'm not saying from a sexual level, I'm saying this from an emotional level. Monkey see, monkey do. But I ask myself this all the time. When I see a woman disrespect herself, first thing comes to my mind was, where was that girl's mom? But more importantly, where was her father? And this is a byproduct too, because most women strive to have their father as their mate, the characteristics of their father. So if the father wasn't actively in their life, guess what happens? You just jumped on the emotional treadmill to not see your worth and go through a whole lot of unnecessary pain. And you know the end result. The end result is you trying to figure out where your panties are. When actually, just think about that last lie you embraced. That's where your panties are. But here's the tragedy. There's a short line of good men on this planet. There's even a more shorter line for those who are spiritual. Because you know those good dudes, Queen, they ain't checking for you. And before you fix your mouth, play with your nostrils like James from Good Time, and get mad, I'm going to tell you why they're not checking for you. It's easy for you to say, well, that's why he out there dating that white girl or that Asian girl or any other girl than me. I'm going to tell you why he's doing that. Because in his mind, he already knows ingrained there's something better. Something. Someone. But just know this. If that person does not have a relationship with God first, they don't have a relationship with themselves. So they will never know what intimacy is. Intimacy is self, you, which goes back to what I echo all the time. Do you know who you are? Maybe this is the time you're supposed to be walking this by yourself. Maybe this is the time that you're supposed to be saying no. Now, keep in mind, the people in your environment want to see the best of you. That's why they should be there, to inspire the best from you. But if they're putting more emphasis to convince you to stay the status quo, they're not your friends. You say, well, Gerald, every time I'm around him, I feel a certain kind of way. He just knows how to unlock my belt. The number one thing that a human being must master is self-control. It requires diligence. The other tool or craft that you will learn that other than yourself, that you will spend the whole life, your whole lifetime trying to master, is communication. But the real question should be asked, why you don't think you deserve that? It shouldn't take a disappointment for you to say, the light bulb is on now. I don't need to be around you. Throw this disclaimer out here. I know some of y'all are in your 30s and you still dealing with the wounds of your childhood. Still dealing with it. And you think if I lay another focus on it, it buries it. Don't you know, longer that you choose not to address it, you give it life. It also makes your perceptions on how you decision make, critical thinking. In other words, that's why you see fishermen casting their lines. They do it for maybe survival, but a lot of them do it for sport. No different than what people do socially. They cast their lines out to keep their wit strong, to see, do I still got it? I still got it. I don't mean nothing about it. I just want to see if I could do it. Little do you know, the devil's sitting there like, I know you still got it. As long as you still got it, I'm going to still bring more pain to you. Because that's a door. Some people know that as karma too. So why are you allowing someone to rob you of your life? Because they hurt you? You know the number one key to healing is to admit that you've been hurt. Some of y'all may be dealing with a broken heart and been dealing with it for a long time. But yet you still have not given yourself proper nurturement to admit that it was broken. Some of y'all may be going through your spiritual storms. But really a spiritual storm is a blessing. Because guess what? People fall, but opportunists don't. And guess what happens? In the process, you are being spiritually washed over and made new. And you get to see the reality of the dynamic that you share with that person. Maybe that job. If you're so upset about your job and hate your job so much, what's keeping you there? If you're so miserable because of the environment, what's keeping you from taking your skill set and finding something else? I'll tell you why. Fear. Finally, everything's reality. Even before death. That's why you hear people say, well, you know, I was in this situation and I saw my life flash right before me. You got to. Everything's placed in review. Why? To see if you learned it. No, I'm not mocking your disappointment. I'm not. I pray for you guys all the time. I do. If you are shedding one tear unnecessarily, it's a travesty. But if anything, that's a blessing too, because your tears wash the soul. That is why you're walking around and you see so many people weary today. You see it right here. You see it right here. You see the weariness on their face. You see them aging before their time. They're aging because of the byproducts of their choices too. You can't drink your pain away. You'll never get high enough. There's not enough sex. Because you know the reality is when that high or that illusion of that veil has fallen, the problems are still there. Know why? You have to master them. And if you decide to procrastinate, guess what happens? You lose your empowerment because it increases and intensifies, pushing that proverbial back to that wall. Now you got to make a choice. That's how free will works, y'all. That's how God do too. Because see, God get tired. He get tired. He get tired of watching you suffer, doing servitude. Why are you bowing down to someone that should lift you up, should protect your heart? I'll tell you why. Because you won't speak your truth. You so preoccupied on the environment. Well, if I say something, I might lose all this, but you didn't earn it. What separates your environment than a person going to a hotel? Time. Time. And then the other person that possesses it knows how they got you. Who's the captured? Who's the captor? You both have to be consensual. A person can't do prison time until they have no choice but to accept their choice. When I hear people say fate, there's no such thing as fate. It's divine intervention. So when those pains come, when that problems come, just know demons got to stay employed, y'all. They do their best work with shallow people. That's why you see bad behaviors celebrated. These people don't even realize. Well, some of y'all might see it because you're starting to see the byproduct of some of these choices, like plastic surgery and stuff. No, you're not crazy. All these women that are doing it, slowly but surely, are killing themselves. Because, see, guess what? You know your DNA, it was made perfect. And guess what? You know those white blood cells to protect you from disease? Because you know your pores, you have pores all over your body. Your hairs serve as antennas to your environment. Well, guess what? The moment you took your first breath, it was solidified. So guess what? It's going to always return back to what it knows, the reference point, your life. So what happens? No, Sarah got to run back to that surgeon and get a re-up. God made you beautiful the moment you breath. The moment that first cry, you were blessed. But you keep running with those people. And when they decide that they don't need you no more, you'll already know because they've replaced you. You already know that because you're looking in their cell phone. Why you got to go play Inspector Gadget? Why? You know this already in your discernment. Yeah, they call it gut. No. Your spirit knows. The end goal is to corrupt it. That's what the devil wants. The devil don't want you to meet the person you are in the future. You do understand? See, the person in the future is blessed because they're the harvest. They have the testimony. And they speak truth. They love themselves. And they're a good, and you know what? They're a sight to see because just being around them, you can feel their energy because they're at peace. They're at peace. They're not someone's peace. Why is in 2016, still to this day, you got women in church with big hats and sunglasses? Why? Number one is to distract you from what's being conveyed, but the other one is to hide the truth of who they really are. Why did you think God said, come as you are? Because he wants that heart. He wants that heart. So why do you think it breaks so much? It's to break the rough edges off so the real you can finally get back to your life. But you keep looking at what they say is reality. That ain't reality. But propaganda to teach our young not to see their value. Bad Girls Club. Bad girls don't get married. And if they do get married, it's short-lived because bad behavior don't get protected. They get exploited. So, King, I've talked long enough. Why are you worried about her? Because you think that was the image of what happiness was? I'll say this and I'm going to leave it alone. Can people change? Yes, every day. But it does not matter if you're not willing to be honest with yourself first. Do you know what you need? Do you? Are you willing to do the work? I got this feeling somebody need to go back to school. No, I'm not talking college. I'm like, you need to go back and beef your skills up. What's stopping you? Because you're worried about what people will perceive? It will not, it don't matter to the perception that they have of you right now. And that's another thing too. Stop allowing people to put you in a box. If they can set their watch on you, why? That means you're not doing enough for you. This also goes with family too. Family, the definition of family has been under attack for the last 20 years. It's been very evident in the last 5, and they've been pushing the agenda to change the way how you see it. You know what God said, right? God don't make mistakes. Because what? The doctrines have been around for thousands of years and you keep hearing the same thing. Why is that? Why wasn't that? Why is the effect today not then? I'll tell you why. Because back then, choices like that would cost you your life. You would be stoned or beheaded. And there's no accountability now. So when you see these people out here and they're saying, well, I'm going to start today, and don't you know that ain't nothing but blood money? That's their way of saying thank you for contributing to defiling your society and the image, because you're the puppet for them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just like I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to speak my truth. There was a blog out about a week or so, and someone talked about the state of womanhood. And I I read what they wrote, and I responded. In about 20 years, you're going to see the return of Big Mama. For some of y'all that don't know what that term is, back in the early 70s and 80s, you always saw a depiction of the single mom, and she was overweight. She was grossly obese. She had a strong conviction and a strong and vocal presence. And she didn't take no mess. But what she didn't have a mate. She didn't have it. So the struggle was there. She was trying to hold it down. But the thing is, you wasn't supposed to. You wasn't supposed to. That was a byproduct of choices that you made. You made these choices. So that made the foundations of your life. When all God asked you to do is prepare. Then they started to romanticize and glamorize this choice. He had countless TV shows out there. Propaganda. Gotta make it so that it's normal, it's accepted, it's condoned. And now retail. Because now you go into restaurants, you see the image of the single parent. Mm-hmm. Don't believe me? You'll see it. When you see it, you're like, well, where's the mom in that picture? Where's the dad? A house that's not founded correctly cannot stand. And the inhabitants inside that house will not flourish because it's not blessed. It's not. Until you make a conscious decision to stop running from your life, acknowledge what is broken. If you can't even speak it, you can't heal it. Do you understand that? If you can't speak on it, you can't heal it. Because that's fear preventing you to embrace the process. Well, Gerald, I hear you. On the outside, I got everything I want. But in the inside, all he does is beat on me. All he does is exploit me. Nobody makes your ass get out of that bed. You choose to be there. Oh, I'm gonna stick around in this mess. I'm gonna sacrifice this for the betterment of my children. You're teaching them to repeat the cycle. And the truth of the matter is, you're selfish because you're choosing your monetary growth over your safety of your kids. But yet you have the nerve to be mad because little man is sitting there with a game controller and you out there working. That's not a man. That's a boy. That's a boy. That's a man that does not have the traits to be called man. That's an adolescent. Ain't no different. You with her, and all you do is this. Here you go. Because of how her shape is? Because of her face? But if you to get sick today, she can't do nothing for you. Why do you think I said 5 years ago, you want to see a snapshot of who you're marrying? Look at the mom. Look at the mom. Or look at the person who has had most influence in that person's life. Because guess what? Before there was a we, there was a you. There was a them. And the company they keep, no. You ain't privy to that. And see, that's the problem. You got people to say, well, I want a loving husband, but have this mindset of really, I want a benefactor. I want a sponsor. Well, guess what? Anybody can be sponsored. Don't mean they respected. Who am I talking to? Why are you having life choices after you get it in? Because that's a tactic. That's to keep you there. Man, she can cook. She can cook, boy, she can cook. But you're putting up with her bullshit. That's a tactic. And that's something that you are lacking. Why can't you cook yourself? Why can't you take care of yourself? Because you're afraid that you'll have to grow up. That's what selling out is all about. You're selling your time at the lowest bidder. And you're wondering why. I love you, queens. But does it surprise you? You get to a point where you're fed up. I'm tired, Gerald. I'm sick and tired of these men. Nobody told you to go out there looking for them. Nobody. Because your girlfriend did? She in your ear? And you're both getting older? She got a child, you got a child? You got that sisterly bond? But when you need truth, they ain't there. And it's always when you want to better yourself, oh, now that's when the fights come now. That's what it really is. And what do? You turn around and say, oh, she's jealous. That's supposed to be the person closest to you. But guess what? They are a mirror reflection of what's in your spirit. A person can't hurt you unless you allow them access. And this does not give you a pass for bad behavior either. Oh, yes. There's a plenty of women walking around that work 9 to 5s that are sleeping with multiple men out there. We call them the cleanup woman. Oh, yeah. She wears her stuff together. You will never know. Tell you, you're behind closed doors until you're about to get replaced, until truth is revealed. And what ends up happening? They get sick. You feel a certain kind of way. And that's when the chips really are flipped over, because now you get to see who really has value in your life. You see it. That's not your story. Did you hear me? It doesn't matter, King, how much you know sexually. I don't care if you're knocking them down every day. You do understand, when you sexually engage with someone, you have opened a spiritual door for that person. And whoever has the stronger of the two spirits, the weaker one will take the traits. That's why when you see her, she walks and talks and acts and even dressed like the new guy. That's spiritual influence, y'all. We living in an age now, if I got one request and I'm going to shut my mouth. When you get a chance today, I want you to go up here. And I want you to type in Olivia by the Whispers. That is a legendary R&B group. But I want you to listen to the song. Listen to the lyrics. That song was done, I think, in the early 70s. I'm not sure. But the lyrics have presidents today. And I know part of it has to do with the fact that you got a lot of little girls that secretly long for their dads. And you have been convinced that, well, what I don't know, I will go seek. And it has cost you more that you was willing to contribute. That's why those people who don't want to take accountability for their lives have used this. Well, what don't kill you make you strong. Words of a fool. Words of a person that will never see value in their lives. Why? Because they don't see how unique they are. You know what happens? That's that old son of a gun that you see that's bitter. That's bitter. You're like, dang, they ain't got no kids. You know your life is jacked up when your own kids won't mess with you. Why? Because you refuse to look at what is broken. But see, people want to blame God for their pain. Two sacred gifts that God gave man. Unconditional love yourself. Because you're an extension and a representation of him. And second was free will. The right to choose. Shall I go left? Shall I go right? Should I stand still or shall I go forward with blind faith? But still to this day, we got young girls rushing out looking for older men, and they're wondering why you got that child. Barefoot and butt naked. Every time he come around, you know you about to get ran through. All that does is play on your psyche because you are being convinced and really converted to think the ideology that is being presented. If you don't see your value, how can they protect it? How are they going to see the worth in it? If you don't grow, what's the point on them to stick around to see the harvest? They won't. Why you think relationships going to fail? Every relationship you going to get will fail. Every one of them. Why? Because you don't have a relationship with yourself. I mean, think about it. Society has gotten so watered down for social acceptance. You look for validation by how your ass twerks than what's inside your brain. How backwards is that? Well, Joe, the money's fast, but okay. How you going to explain that on your taxes? Oh, I'm sorry, that's under the table. They're not going to claim that. Don't you know that devil, that's blood money. That's blood money. That's why there's no respect in that. But society wants you to idolize bad behavior. Oh, yeah, she got XYZ amount of viewers. You're not famous. You're infamous. You wouldn't have a platform if it wasn't for your disrespect. But them Johns are not going to tell you that because they're going to treat you like a utility bill. Oh, to get you to do that, I just got to pay for that light bill? Mm-hmm. Come on over here and get it. And they take their asses back wherever they were. Mind you, they ain't thinking about your health. Meanwhile, you sitting over there looking at your watch because she ain't called you. But your instinct, your discernment tells you the truth. It's not your responsibility to chase after nobody. Nobody. If they love you, they're going to stand with you. But nobody is your mother or father. And that's the problem. You have a lot of people are getting in relationships because they have this ideology that is a reminder or a remnants of what their parents lacked or was. And I had this epiphany too, and I'm going to shut it up, y'all. Kings, you better peep this out. Queens, hear this. Until you decide to open the dialogue of communication, you're going to continue to struggle. You're going to continue to struggle. Now, there's a reason why I say that. It took two to make your blessing. It took you to make the decision to receive it. Right? But it was not, you didn't sign up to do this by yourself. So why aren't you speaking the truth? I know that there are those that sacrifice their kids for financial reasons. And what ends up happening, they end up inheriting so much burden and pain through their lives because the behaviors that will be exhibited from their children will be a mirror reflections of the things that they chose not to do. Why you think you hear the cliche, he's a chip off the old block. So if daddy was an alcoholic, Junior gonna be one too. If mama was promiscuous, little Sarah gonna be one too. She gonna be better than mom. She gonna be doing the things mom had yet to do. We are what we attract. But to bring my point home, I had an epiphany the other day. And I realized, because social media talks about it all the time. I ain't got to tell you that. There's so many people that got dialogue about that. But I noticed this. You may see, we'll say children, right? And certain children, the eldest and then the youngest. You'll notice the level of support given per child. It should be across the board, right? But a lot of times what happens is, based on the dynamic of the relationship, will also be the reflection of how much support that child gets. Who am I talking to? Think about it. When you see that child that's gotten in trouble, the first thing you hear is, I didn't have my mom or I didn't have my father. I didn't have anyone to rear or guide my development. So now this child is on autopilot, survival. So you're not going to get the best out of them because they're just trying to make it through the day. They may be going through stealing and lying. They may be going through anger issues and rebellion. This is a direct correlation of their environment. Their environment is their parents. But I also saw this. You will see the interaction and nurturement given to that child is based off of the dynamic that the parents have. So in other words, if the mother didn't like the father, she's going to do the bare minimum. You know why? That child's a walking reminder of her failure. Do I need to repeat that again? Think about it. You got children. However the dialogue is with that father, if he's not in the life or for whatever reason, whatever your resentment is, it will be spilled over to the behavior of that child. And the child that's getting the support and nurturement will be the representation of the viable relationship. Maybe that's why there's so much nepotism going on. Maybe that's why the golden child can get away with anything, but don't have life skills. And the scapegoat gets all the abuse, but is doing it on its own. We had a phrase we called that latchkey kid, because in the 80s, 90s, and prevalently today, it's been condoned that you have parents working and the child has to sustain until the parent comes home or the elder sibling. So here's that nepotism. What if the younger child is catching all the flack from the older child? Why would that be the case? Why? There's no dialogue, but deep down inside, there is a longing. There's a longing to feel appreciated. Oh yeah, for some reason, society has painted this picture of if you're 15 years old, love and attention stops. Who am I talking to? But you wonder why Sarah got pregnant by JoJo. We're wondering why little Miguel is in the back of a police car. Why Darnell, unfortunately, is being placed in a baggie so that the coroner can take him away. See, what you lack, someone's going to exploit. I've never seen a situation where, I've never seen an example, and I could be wrong, where I've seen loving parents and the children just, because if that child has support, has presence, the child, the last thing that child is going to want to do is disappoint the parent. Because you set the bar for what their perception and growth is. So let's look at it this way. If you're constantly, anything out of your mouth is negativity, that child just got a low self-esteem and is just persevering. See, the military may have coined the phrase PTSD, but PTSD been around since the beginning of time. You ever thought about that? You think that Sarah will be on that pole, shaking her ass, humiliating herself to the whims of fools if she has support? But here's the kicker. You always hear this. I'm going to go to college. I got big dreams, but I'm going to do this for the time being. Can't get a job. You can't work a regular job. Working a regular job is beneath you. Is that what you're saying? So you are subsequently putting a price tag on your existence. And it plays out in your adulthood. You got people that have this. Gerald, I don't date but doctors. If he ain't a doctor, I ain't messing with him. Or he got to be in the, you know, they got this mindset. Best movie they illustrated it is a classic called Claudine. Never seen it? Check it out. See, people that have noses up here always get them cut off by reality. Oh yeah, you're gonna go through some stuff because you're putting a price tag on that. You think it's made out of platinum? No. That John don't care. And if anything, I'm gonna tell you what that John thinks. Everything that I can't get where I lay my head, I'll get you to do. And you're wondering why he treats you like a bowling ball. Your reality is, I'd never do that, but you are doing that, aren't you? You're doing it. Don't you think that takes a piece of you? When in actuality, what you do behind the closed doors of your house is you. But Shouldn't that be something sacred between you and the one? I don't care if you're swinging off the chandeliers, playing Batman and Robin. They're still going to protect your heart. His investment is your last name. His protection is his seed. But see, you got a lot of women out here. You're living a life by yourself and end up with that little drawer with them special things in it. But none of them measure up to the interaction of a man. You don't want a man. You want the one. But you keep on thinking and keep listening to what your people in the cheap seats are going to do. Guess what? Let me tell you something. They ain't going to be at your funeral. And the moment that you decide to say no, they're going to walk right out of your life. Because guess what? Now the masks have come off, the lights are on, and the truth is what it is. These people never gave a damn about you because you didn't give a damn about yourself. So you cannot wave the victim card about why is everything happening. You had to sign off on that. Until you decide to use that blessed brain, God said it best. There are going to be those that are going to pray to him for support, and he's not going to hear you. Why? Because you ain't hearing you. Meanwhile, they're using your body like a skate ramp, and they just come on in and go. They don't bring nothing to the table. They're always depleting you. And you're wondering why your attitude is jacked up. Why? Because you hurting. You hurting. Ain't nothing worse than see a woman walk this planet and she lost her smile. You're not living. You're just sustaining. You talking to a man, I lost my smile for 10 years. Didn't even know it. It got to a point people are like, why are you so serious? Didn't know. It's because I was not connected with God. I thought I had everything under control. And the devil showed me, no, you don't. He took my desires and inhibitions. Oh, you like that? Let them manifest in my life to try to break my spirit, break me down. Because ultimately, he wanted to kill it. He wanted to use me as a tool to destroy. I couldn't go out like that. And that's one thing I've always known as a little boy. I've always had that insight. I've always known that God gonna use me for something very special. But we backslide sometimes. We fall down sometimes. We get hurt sometimes. You know why you're feeling that pain? It's to show you that is the opposite of what you need. That means you got a whole lot of love to give. You are stronger than you think. But you got to get past that block. Why are you being a prisoner in your own mind? You're doing time in your mind. But you mad because he just wants to get up in that rectum. I said it. That's the world we live in nowadays. People don't value your own body. But if you don't value your own body, you know what? You wonder why people are spitting on each other and doing ungodly things. Why? Because that's the sign to the devil, like, yes, honor me. Keep defiling me. That's right. That's right. That's what you do. Keep doing it because you have to surrender yourself so he can take it. That's why you got one soul. So all that stuff that you're doing, all that stuff that's extra, all that stuff that you think is cute and brand new, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay for it. All I'm saying is you're loved. But you'll never know what love really is till you decide to love yourself. Come back to that little boy. Yeah, that little boy with the little swing. How about that little girl with the barrettes? She still lives inside you. She still lives there. And when you decide, guess what's going to happen? You might be saying, well, Joel, I hear what you're saying, but I got these physical ailments and I'm on these pills and I got this medical regimen I got to do now. I never thought that my health would be all bad this way. And let me tell you what, you know why your health is the way it is? Because you're not loving you. Those ailments is nothing but a spiritual way to slow you down, to convince you to give up. When you decide to love yourself, that's right, one step at a time. But you got to stand up to do that. Your clarity is going to come. Your strength is going to rebuild. And all things that was hidden from you, they're going to be coming. They're going to come right in front of you to see how you react to it. If it's not you, why claim it? That's why when I hear women find glee when somebody calls them out their name, that wasn't your name. Why are you acknowledging it? I can hear somebody say, well, why not? Because you're disrespecting yourself. And as long as you disrespect yourself, the effect is you're going to get more of the same. As long as you keep disrespecting your body, you're going to get more of the same. As long as you keep running from the truth, you're going to get more of the same. As long as you refuse to acknowledge what is broken, it can't get healed. Do you know who you are? Because if you did, you were protected. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. See, right now, the devil think he's winning. Because there's a lot of women out here that don't see their worth. And that's nothing but the Jezebel spirit. Because see, the Jezebel, she loves to destroy families, one influence at a time, because there's no honor there. And you can't ask for honor if you don't honor yourself first. You can do it. You're worth it. Have a blessed weekend.